My name is Annette, and I am an elder statesman. That may sound strange. It simply means that I have a bit of knowledge that I like to pass on. And it's hard to get together with everyone, and who would want to go in a room and just sit and listen to me gab? So this is a way of my being able to share some thoughts and things that have made my life interesting in the hope that some of the things that I say might be of help to you. That you might say, oh, I didn't think of that, or I didn't know that, or isn't that interesting, which is one of my favorite expressions. My husband and I, over the years, have cared for children in home daycare and licensed daycare centers and licensed family daycare, as well as, we have two sons. I was 17 when my first son was born, my oldest. And I wanted to know everything there was to know. And I went to the library and read every book on child psychology I could get my hands on. My childhood was not a good childhood, but it was what it was. People did the best they could with what they had, and I survived. But when knew that I was going to have a child, I wanted to be the very best. It meant getting to know what it is a child needs to feel secure and loved, and the things that they need to learn to make life easier for them so that they'd know how to find answers as they grew. And I was not so lucky later on. I had several babies that died. And then when my son was 9, I met my husband and we were married. And then 2 years later, I had our son David. And that was wonderful. That was exactly what I wanted. Go down the road a bit. And as a building superintendent, I had some time, and my husband decided teaching in the junior high school with the particular bureaucracies that were going on was not something he wanted to do anymore. And I said, it's okay, we could watch kids, not realizing that that was the beginning of our journey in educating and caring and loving for lots of other children. I advertised simply by talking to people I met in the grocery store or neighbors in the building and said we were going to care for children. And then my husband was a teacher and etc. And the first person I spoke to in the grocery store had a baby and a child, a little girl, maybe about 3. And I was interested in the baby. That's what I thought we would have. Mom had a different idea. She called and wanted her daughter to come. So now our thinking and direction age-wise with children changed. And from that point, we began to care during the day from another 12-hour days on and off for infants all the way up to we had 2 that came after school. There were 10. That was the beginning. And those years were really amazing because I am a studier of people. I love to watch and listen and learn. And learning from children is something that every parent is gifted with. If they take the time to recognize there's so much that goes on in a child's life from infancy on that is amazing. It's always been my belief, and it's something I learned from watching and listening to little ones, is that the first 3 years of a child life, which educators will tell you are the most important, is that children at that age are very psychic. They know things we don't know. And to interpret that requires really paying attention to facial expressions, to body language, to simply how that baby and that toddler responds to the things that we're trying to show them, make life easy for them. If you look at an infant and they look back, that eye contact is telling you so much. And when that baby responds to you, there's nothing to describe how wonderful that feels. I was with the infants for over 30 years, and I swore I had conversations all day long with them. I know I did because I connected and listened and watched and just absorbed that wonderful, amazing conversation that I felt I was having through the gurgles and the coos and special language. And as they grow, I watched how they reacted to other children or other adults or their parents. I kept learning. I learned the fact that the end of the day in a caregiving situation is very hard on that child and definitely hard on the parent. Mom or dad comes in, they want to get home, they've worked all day, and they want that child to get their coat on and get ready and go. The child has a different idea. The child will very clearly show the parent they want to show what they did that day. They want to take them around their classroom, and even the nonverbal ones are still, they'll show them books that they read. If it's a parent that can take that time, when they don't take that time and they scoot that child out the door, they go home and they change. They become temper tantrums and not happy because they haven't had a chance to tell you their side of their day. So that's one thing I would suggest strongly, that if you go to pick up your child where they're being cared, find out what their day was like and find out from them and let them show you. It's very important. And you will then have a happier child when you go home, because you can then refer to some of the things they did. Oh, you read the Bernstein Bears. How nice. Did you like it? Did it make you happy? Anything that lets them know that you were a part of their lives and hadn't just dropped them off with some other people. So that's one little thing that I observed. I've had children have meltdowns and react in ways that the first reaction would be, how could, don't do that? That was wrong. And not say that and try to connect to the child enough for them to be able to share what pains that they were going through that they couldn't express. I have one little boy. I have no idea what caused it, but he went into the infant room and tore it apart. I mean, he threw the toys off the shelves and he just demolished everything he could get his hands on. When I went in, a little while after I left him cool off, he's sitting in the corner and he's saying, I can't do it. I can't do it. And I said, okay, what can't you do? And he said, I can't pick them up. I can't pick them up. So he was already preparing himself for the fact that he knew he'd done something and he was responsible. I told him it was okay, I would help him. And we did it together. I could have handled it lots of different ways. I could have punished him. I could have put him in timeout. I don't know what that would have done at all. It's another conversation we'll continue with. But it was enough for him to be able to pull himself together. I think he was 4, and I'm sure. So it's really, really looking at what's going on and letting the discipline, which is what it is, fit that child and that moment. That event was different for that child than it would have been for a child that was going through something else. I could never find out, and there was no way, what prefaced it. But I was responsible for the consequences that he could live with, and it didn't make him feel less of a person. So, discipline, thanks to Polly Spedding. Polly Spedding was an educator at Cornell University, and she wrote a book called Discipline is Not a Dirty Word. Now, I recommend that book highly. I think it's written for early education, teachers, but it's for everyone because discipline is guidance. And if we punish, we're not getting the results we think we're getting. The Bible may say, spare the rod and spoil the child, but there's another way to look at that. When you spare the rod, you're teaching a child that when they're angry, there are other ways to deal with it than lashing out. So that's everything that we teach, everything we do is a lesson if it's done in a way that has deep value and that they'll be able to take and hold on in their lives. A discipline that just makes them know they were bad and that they're always bad only belittles the little person, and they've learned nothing except don't get caught. That's one they learned very early. But when you fit the discipline to fit the moment and the problem, you get results. Yeah. The other recommendation is we put our children in timeout. We've done this probably time immemorial, right? That we discipline them. We go sit in that chair. A more honest way of dealing with it, and a way that will have better results, is letting them know you need a timeout. You're saying to them, I'm a little upset. I need to take some time away from you. I love you. I'll talk to you later. We'll talk about whatever it was that happened. You'll get better results. And it's the truth. We need to know when to take a time out, when to distance ourselves so that we can take that pause, that breath, and have a clear understanding of, let me see, what really happened, what led to that, and how can I explain it or show my displeasure and why. That's where the results lie. A child has to be able to say, this is what I did. If they can't, then they've done what that little guy did and just reacted physically by tearing the room apart. He didn't know how to deal whatever was bothering him. So we need to teach our children tools. How can you do? What could you do? I hear you were angry. What would be the best way to handle that? With our daycare kids, we would say we had a whole list of things they could do to solve whatever problem they were going through rather than the physicalness lashing out, either verbally or physically. And of course, it was always like you could always tell the teacher. So in a situation at home, you could come and tell me I'm angry and why. I am not happy. Just know that they need to find a vehicle to be able to be honest with you and that you're going to listen and not react. If they broke something and they're afraid to tell you, it's going to create them to act in a way that you're not going to like. So, every year of a child's life is an opportunity to let them know that you see that they're getting bigger and older, to feel that they have more, are able to handle larger responsibilities. We sometimes do that in this country anymore. Kids used to gather eggs or milk the cows or an assortment of things that made them feel that that was their job. And other countries still do allow their children to see how capable they are at much younger ages than we do. So maybe we can work on that. Let them know that they're important and that they can do things that they couldn't do last year, that they're growing and developing, and that you see it always, that you see the improvements and their desires to be the big brother or big sister. Let's see. When you become a grandparent, you have a whole different role in your relationship with your children as well as your grandchildren. One of them, which is your children are not going to do the same things you did. They either will not do it because they don't want them to be treated the way you treated them, or they've read something and have a different view on how a child should be raised. Or maybe they do want to do the same thing, but they're not you. So their goals will be different. And as a grandparent, I strongly suggest that you keep your opinions to yourself, unless you are asked specifically, and you can word it in a way that doesn't put your child in this position of thinking that they're making mistakes. It's a terrible feeling when you're raising your children and you think you've made mistakes you can't undo. Which is why I talk about being careful what you say. Your words, they're arrows, and they're devastating, and you can't take them back. And we do it. We say, how could you be so stupid and do that? You know better. Well, none of that. Because they don't know better, even if you've told them 10 times. So we help them internalize the things you teach them. And we do it most of the time, hopefully, by modeling. We are their role models. If the first time something happens, the curse words come out, well, you can't be surprised when that's how they react when something happens. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's a gift. So teaching children all these years has been such a gift. And I still look so forward to seeing that sparkle in their eyes that tells me that they see me and they hear me without my saying anything. Just eye contact, a smile, and kind words. Yeah. Even when you're correcting, there's no reason why there can't be the ability to communicate in a loving, kind way. That's the role model, and that's what you want from them. so their life can be happy and they can feel capable and worthy of all the good things that can come their way. You know, I love answering questions about children. I used to get phone calls, what am I going to do? How am I going to potty train was always a biggie. But also, why are they doing that? I don't understand. Of course we don't. And it's very hard to go back in your head and be three. And why are they dumping everything on the shelf? It's a nice sound. Makes a big pile. You know, and see it better. Maybe I want the container. I want to do something with that. Who knows? Everything's a learning experience. So I hope this has been a little bit of a learning experience. I would suggest getting discipline is not a dirty word and find out what it is that you can do that's the positive tool. And I wish you well always. And for those of you without children, same things that we do as parents with children, we can do with all the people in our lives. Because it's being honest and caring, and it's really paying attention to what's going on in someone else's life. Yeah. So I thank you very much, and I will see you again next month, which is wonderful. It seems like such a long time, but it's perfect. And I thank you. Be well.